awesome. It's nice to see you guys again. I've just finished watching Aquaman, and you know what that means? It's time for a review. Now, the DCEU has had some incredibly hit or miss films, and lots of people saw Aquaman as, you know, the film to save the DCEU. And I have to say, it's definitely a step in the right direction. So straight off, when this film starts, you are introduced to Arthur Curry, otherwise known as Aquaman, and he is by far the manliest man you will ever meet. I mean, when I was watching the opening sequence with him just beating up people on a submarine, the first thing I could think of was, like, I was thinking back to 80s heroes, you know, when Sylvester Stallone and Arnold Schwarzenegger were at the tippy top of their manliest manliness. They weren't even nearly as manly as Aquaman in this film. He literally gets introduced doing a one-liner, and then just out-manlying everyone, just like, seriously, punch to the face, grenade launcher to the chest, gets back up, another punch to the face. There's literally this one scene where this guy runs right at Aquaman, punches him, and Aquaman does one of these, and gives him a smile, and then punches him so hard he goes straight to the ground, and he literally goes, whoopah! So honestly, if you guys are looking for a movie where a hero solves his problems with his fists, Aquaman is the movie for you. But at the same time, you understand that he's a flawed hero. He's still learning, even though he's got all of this previous experience with the Justice League and stuff like that. He's still learning who he is. He's still discovering more about his path. He's learning new skills and stuff like that. And he understands that the way he dealt with previous problems, he can't bring that into how he's going to solve future problems and stuff like that. He has to take on this new level of responsibility. He understands he's not just fighting for himself, but he's fighting for the entire world in essence. And so you see this character growth develop inside of him. And I really enjoyed his character arc, I really did. There's not as much development in him as other, you know, character-driven movies, but, you know, it doesn't leave much to be desired. It does its job. You understand his character arc, you understand why he has to do the specific things he does, and you understand his motivations the entire time. They make it very clear as to why he is reluctant to do specific things and why he wants to do specific things. They've definitely painted out his character in a very clear and definite way that you as the audience can understand why he does specific things. And so, talking about Aquaman, Jason Momoa really did just an absolutely fantastic job. I remember when I saw the trailer for the first time for Justice League and I saw Jason Momoa, I was like, oh, this is going to be awesome. And even in Justice League, he was one of my favorite aspects of the film. I understand that week really suffered in specific places, but he was definitely one of the highlights in my opinion. And he definitely made this movie his own. I mean, he's just so charismatic, he's so likable. There are certain things that his character does that I wouldn't agree with, but as an actor, as a performer, he definitely performed his heart out, and I thoroughly enjoyed him. And like, there's not many other people in the world that can portray this manly yet lovable guy to the level that he's able to do. So I applaud him for that. He did a fantastic job. The one thing that Aquaman really did well, and I applaud them for it, is they're the main theme of you choose your own identity, you choose your own destiny. And that one hit me hard. And so throughout this whole movie, Aquaman believes that he's not worthy to be king, that he doesn't deserve it, stuff like that, because he's a half-breed, he's responsible for his mom's death, stuff like that. And throughout the movie he understands he has to take on this responsibility, but he has to choose it for himself. And there's this one line that really encapsulates, I believe, the entire movie. And the line goes, "We don't need a king, we need a hero," or something like that. And it plays out going, a king fights for his kingdom, but a hero fights for the world. And when I heard that, I literally got like goosebumps. I was like, oh, that is a good line. And they even use it in the trailer. And you know, Arthur Curry, he really takes that on and he becomes Aquaman. He becomes the legend. And you literally, in that moment, in that very definite moment when he hears that line, something changes inside him and he decides, I've got to do this. I've got to become King of Atlantis. And that moment was just awesome. Now, one of the things I'm very flip-floppy about, I'm still making my mind up about this, is the actual aesthetic of the film. For something that takes place on Earth, it is still incredibly alien, but it looks gorgeous. I have to say they did it fantastic. Majority of the movie actually takes place underwater and is incredibly CGI heavy, but they pull it off so well. But never once did I go, ooh, that looks very fake. No, everything looks real, everything looks incredibly well done. So the visual effects department did an absolutely great, you know, they just blew me out the water. You're like, Aquaman pun, I have them. And in terms of like action sequences, not only did they look absolutely brilliant, but they were choreographed so well. There's this one there's quite a few sequences where it's just one long take, and what you actually see the one in the trailer where Mira is busy running over the roofs and stuff like that. It's just so beautifully planned. Lots of the action sequences are really intricate, especially when it comes to Jason Momoa as Aquaman, moving the tridents in specific ways. It just looked absolutely brilliant. It looked beautiful. It looked like he was Aquaman. I don't know how else to put it, but he really, that's actually the best way I think I can put it. It looked like he and the tridents were one at specific times, just the way he was able to, maneuver this tridents around him. And you got this idea that the moment he grabbed the trident, that he was the king of Atlantis. And it's so cool. I love that moment. It's like when he actually grabs the trident for the first time, and you know that he is Aquaman, that he is the king of Atlantis. That scene was done brilliantly. My biggest problem with Aquaman is actually the final battle. And I'm not going to explain to you what happens, because that's just a massive spoiler or anything like that. But if you didn't enjoy the ending to Man of Steel and the way the battle plays out, with the level of destruction and stuff like that, I believe you're not going to enjoy the ending to Aquaman either, because it's very similar. In fact, there are many parallels between the ending of Man of Steel and the ending of Aquaman. So if you didn't enjoy the ending of Man of Steel, unfortunately I don't think you're going to be enjoying the ending to this film that much. But that is my biggest problem with the movie, is actually the ending. There are a few other problems I have with it. Another big problem, I think, especially near the beginning, is there's just this information overload. You're just told everything at once. It's like, here's information, and you're like, there is lots happening. But they re-explain everything down the line, and they do it in a very nice way. Very often in films, they try to exposit information at you through dialogue, and you can feel that it's very forced. I never felt like it was forced in this film. I think they did it in a very fluid motion. They introduced all the information to you at the very beginning, and then they re-explained it when it was necessary, and I think that was really, really cool. I enjoyed that as a viewer. As someone that has a decent amount of DC knowledge, I don't know much about Aquaman, and they really did explain it very, very nicely and freshly in this film. I think they did a great job. Talking about comic book knowledge, I went and I watched this film with my friend Ashton, and he's a huge Aquaman fan. And what he loved most about this film was how loyal it was to the comic books. He says it's incredibly comic book accurate, and he actually rates the movie 90%, because he just thinks, in terms of everything that was done by the comics, that he believes that this movie did it right. And he absolutely loved the costume, so did I. I think that Aquaman costume is probably one of the best reimaginings. I don't want to say reimaginings. Very often when you get a comic book costume like Aquaman, Superman, all of them, they don't always translate well to screen. And I actually think that this Aquaman suit looked hella dope. I really think they pulled it off well. My final review for the film, when I walked out the cinema, I was thinking 75%. But now that I think about it, realize how much I enjoyed it, I'm probably going to give it more about an 80. The more I think about it, the more I process everything. All the doubts I had about the film, all the problems I had with it, they're not major, if that makes sense. And I think I'm trying to be a lot more critical with this film than I was with Bumblebee. But it was a good film, guys. If you're looking for a great superhero movie, especially a great DC superhero movie, because we've had so few of those recently, I would highly recommend that you watch Aquaman, because it is a blast. Thank you, guys.